Hey everybody, Bob Babbitt here, Challenged Athletes Foundation. Today we have the opportunity to interview one of the greatest Paralympic athletes ever, especially in downhill skiing. Mr. Greg Maninno joins us. Greg, how you doing?
I'm well, Bob. Thanks for having me on. Yeah, it's a pleasure to be here.
Well, I look at five-time Paralympian, one-time Olympian, six-time Paralympic gold medals, 12 medals over five Paralympics, three-time world champion. It really isn't a hell of a lot you didn't do.
Yeah, I had a lot of great people behind me and a lot of great organizations and coaches and got a lot of good luck, I got to tell you.
So anytime I interview a downhill skier, fastest you've gone skiing?
Fastest? Oh, gosh. I think some of our World Cup speeds were up in the high 70s, low 80s. I had a couple of speed skiing events. I think I was up 98 miles an hour a couple of times. So. Letting it rip.
So you were, right around your 18th birthday is when you were electrocuted and ended up losing your leg?
That is correct, yeah. Back in 1979 in Southern California, we contacted some power lines with a ladder, and it grounded out about 12,000 volts, and it resulted in an amputation of my left leg above the knee. So 41 years ago, tell you.
And you were a skier beforehand?
That's right. My parents were big skiers. So I skied as a child, thank God we had a place in Big Bear, a place up in Mammoth, a place in Bryan Head. So we were skiing, and I grew up in Southern California, down here over in Yorba Linda. So I skied prior to the injury, and after I lost the leg, I had some people come and encourage me that skiing is a great rehabilitation sport. So I went back out that spring after my injury and tried it and immediately fell in love with it. I got to tell you, skiing is one of those sports, Bob, that doesn't matter whatever the level of injury or deficit is, you can go fast and have fun and be like your peers and participate with your family and friends. It's just a fantastic sport. So I immediately fell in love with it again, and it was my outlet sport.
I was going to say, how important was it for you when you're 18 years old to find that new outlet, because you can go through some pretty severe depression when you lose a limb?
Oh, absolutely. And I think anyone will experience depression. You're always questioning what's going to happen next. How am I going to, continue my life using a prosthesis or, whatever that injury may be. So for me, it gave me an outlet to go fast and have fun because, 40 years ago, prosthetics were, we were literally walking on wooden prostheses. There were some fabulous craftsmen back then that were carving wood and doing great work, but it was a slow moving world. And for me, skiing was an outlet to, go fast again. So I just immediately fell in love with it,
And not many athletes have participated in both a Paralympic Games and an Olympic Games in the same year, 1988. You competed in both. How cool was that?
Yeah, that was probably the highlight of my career. I was fortunate to make the Paralympic team, and in 1988, the Calgary Olympics had an exhibition sport for disabled men's and women's Alpine. So we were named to the Olympic team, marched with the Olympic team, provided the Olympic team uniform, and we were on the Olympic team. They did that same event in a couple of summer games, and in Sarajevo in 1984, they had a disabled exhibition as well. And then since then, I think they've gone on to, purely Paralympic events, but it was just truly an honor, Bob, I'll tell you.
You met President Reagan.
And I met President Reagan, and yeah, he was the coolest guy. I've got great stories, so.
You're also the first Paralympic athlete to be featured on the cover of Skiing Magazine. And I always, as an organization, Challenged Athletes Foundation, we want our athletes to be looked at as athletes. And that must have been huge, not just for you, but for the sport and for para athletes when you're showcased on a cover of a major magazine like that.
Yeah, I think it was a good breakthrough. I came from the era of the Diana Goldens too, and she brought a lot to disabled alpine skiing. But to be asked and to do those photo shoots, to be on the cover, was huge for me, huge for the sport. It was starting to elevate the sport, elevate the athletes. People were recognizing how great and how high-end these skiers were. Not only me, there was a bunch of us out there, and it continues on today. But the exposure is everything. some of the things I was really focused on, Bob, after that is skiing in Disabled World Cup as well as Able Body World Cup to, challenge my peers and see, just how high I could and fast I could go. So.
And as a skier, you didn't wear a prosthetic leg, correct? You ski with one leg?
That's right. So back in the late 80s, 90s, when I was a ski team level athlete, we were skiing 3-track. The technology and socket designs and componentry really wasn't available to what we have today. So I was a 3-tracker, 1 leg, 2 outriggers, and incredible strength to do that, though. So I have a lot of respect for those athletes that are continuing to ski without the prostheses. But today, Bob, we fit and encourage everybody to use the prostheses. I've been about 12 seasons now skiing 2 legs, and I don't know if you've seen any clips of that. It's working really well, and you would never know I'm an amputee. So that's what's so unique for me is I'm just kind of integrated in the group, and nobody knows, and I'm skiing at a pretty high level. So that's pretty exciting, and I'm currently involved with a lot of that. So
also one of the issues that amputees deal with is skin issues.
Oh, absolutely.
And you've been involved with VitalFit, and talk a little bit about how you connect. Because I'm sure you've seen a lot of products over the years. People come to you and say, this is going to really help with skin issues, and most of the time it doesn't.
That's right.
What was it different about this product, and why has it become so important to you?
Well, you're exactly right, Bob. In the past, there really hasn't been any products that are specific to the limb loss community to address the skincare issues that we can experience, even with the latest prosthetic designs, liners, sockets, componentry. What that really has translated into in my life, as well as I know all the athletes and all the people that you know and involved with, is our activity levels have gotten so good and so great. We're doing more than we've ever done, but the downside of that is it's really demanding on the skin. So in my personal case as an amputee, I'm high level. I love to hike. I do all these different sports, and even with the latest prosthetic care and fit, my socket, I was experiencing tremendous breakdown from the repetitive sports of cycling and everything I do. So when I discovered the VitalFit system last September at a National Prosthetic Show, I was talking to them. They sent me some supplies to test, and I was daily dealing with some kind of skin breakdown issue. And depending on what activity I'm doing, it would be, a breakdown on the proximal trim line or the distal end or something. And as soon as I started using the VitalFit system, all these issues went away for me. So I was like immediately taken back from, in the past, we would use a little Vaseline or a little bag balm or something. And I did some research, a little more research, and Dr. Dean developed this system specifically for limb loss. And even more interesting, Bob, is the benefits to every athlete this system's working for. So, I mean, I know you're a triathlete yourself.
Yeah.
Just for the friction that's created from all the cycling and running you do, this is an amazing system. So initially starting with limb loss community, that I think this is available to all of us, that we can all really benefit to reduce that friction, reduce that sweat, reduce that odor. Because if you are in a prosthesis, the first thing that interferes with your daily activity is if you sweat and the prosthesis comes off and then you're redonning it, and especially guys who are like triathletes, all the, like the chaff athletes, I'm amazed the outcomes that you guys are having, but I know these guys are experiencing these issues that interfere with the race, and that's where the VitalFit system can be so helpful.
So also VitalFit is, and the website is VitalFitSR.com. They're the official skincare sponsor of our CAF Community Challenge, which is awesome. And then, like you said, it originally started with people with limb loss, but people with diabetes and anybody who's got skin issues. One of the things I think because of COVID, so many people who were basically using their sport leg every day, all of a sudden aren't. And as things start to loosen up and they think they can get back in it, what are some of your suggestions in terms of making sure you're taking care of your skin, since you haven't used your sport leg in a while, now you're putting it back on and not overdoing things?
Well, I think that's a great question, and thanks for asking it. I am a prosthetist too, so I do have my little, patients that I work with, and my own, patient hat that I can put on. But skincare is integral part of the performance of the prosthesis. So it's a simple thing you can do every day to optimize the outcome. A lot of prosthetists out there, they're working with all these chaff athletes. They work very hard to see that they're in the latest componentry, latest design sockets. But if we don't take care of the interface first, where you're, the skin integrity, we can break down quick. And if we don't keep it clean and moisturized, and if we with the liquid powder, we can reduce the sweat. All these things translate into better performance. So if we've got, we haven't been in our running prostheses, and that socket maybe be, 90% fitting well, you can get 110% out of your socket by using the VitalFit system. It makes your skin integrity better. And that's where it all starts.
I love it. So when you look back at your skiing career, is there, besides the President Reagan moment, talk a little bit about another moment that meant a lot to you?
Well, I had a lot of good luck and a lot of good results. And fortunately, I had a lot of great people behind me. But kind of my claim to fame, I skied North American Trophy Series championships against able-bodied athletes, U.S. ski team men's members, the Tommy Moes, the AJ Kits. I raced the national championships and ended up 24th out of the slalom race that I entered there. So I was about 2 seconds a run behind the first place guy and ended up 24th. And for me, that was one of my best results. My fist point score was 61 in that race, which is pretty high. But to be able to compete at the level where I was beating Tommy Moes and AJ Kits, that was a good time for me. And what I really reflect on, that I was really taking it to a different level back then. And hopefully that encourages some of these younger skiers and athletes today to do what I did back then. But and that being said, and in the 1990s, I was the gold medalist in 3 different Paralympics for the whole 1990s scenario. So that was kind of a proud moment too. Racing for the gold, you had to race me kind of theory. So.
Well, and then you're talking about competing against able-bodied skiers.
Oh yeah,
you're competing the best skiers in the world.
Right. So that's what was really interesting for me, is to be like my peers. So I pursued racing in the able-bodied tour and a little bit more than I did in disabled tours, because I just wanted to be like everybody else. And I had some good results with it. And, that's a good moment when everybody's coming up and going, wow, you're really hanging it out there. And that builds some confidence, I'll tell you.
As somebody who is, when you first lost your leg, you probably didn't see a lot of other amputees, and there really wasn't anything you could do online to find out what's happening in your world. How have things changed as for somebody who becomes an amputee now in terms of their opportunities?
It's amazing. There's organizations like CAF. I mean, this didn't really exist 40 years ago, and we didn't have the internet to Google and search the latest componentry. It was kind of word of mouth and who you encountered back 40 years ago, who was doing some of the latest technologies. And I was lucky. I got into some higher end prosthetic manufacturers back then and made a career out of it. But today, I think it's so much more information for a new amputee to pursue sports, because there's a lot of organizations like CHAF out there that are helping athletes. And I got to tell you, Bob, I'm so over the moon with challenge athletes, because they've supplied a lot of skiers I know with equipment. And when you're coming up as a disabled athlete, that stuff's expensive. And trying to fund your own career and become a world champion or a Paralympian, it's a tough thing. But there's these organizations out there that are helping. The word of mouth is not just word of mouth. You can find somebody with the amputee support groups, with companies like VitalFit. I mean, there's so many different aspects out there to help people pursue their dreams and goals that maybe 40 years ago we really didn't have. But so that's a huge plus for a new user.
I love it. Hey, Greg, thanks so much for taking time. I can't believe you went 98 miles an hour. That's I'm getting scared just thinking about that. That's unbelievable.
Yeah, I might not be going 98 anymore, but I'm still keeping it at a pretty high level. So I'll tell you about it.
I love it. Greg Maninno has been our guest. Challenged Athletes Live. Greg, you are the best. Thank you, sir, for taking time.
Okay, everybody. Good luck, everybody.
Bye.